What's going on, everybody? Kevin Duffey here for the Random Things podcast. I'm coming at you today with a random review. Today's review is going to be Zack Snyder's new Netflix movie, Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. Now, if you're new to this channel, or if you're somebody who's been tuning in for a while for us, we've had a couple discussions about Rebel Moon in the last week. I did a random rant about the audience score about this movie, on how it was astronomically high, and the thousands of reviews that pooled in for it had to be from fake accounts, because there's no way that thousands of people saw this movie when it was only released in 4 cities across like 12 movie theaters. So they were fake. They were fake, and you go as far as checking the verified accounts out of those audience scores, and only 3 of those audience scores, at least at the time, after the initial critic reviews came out, only 3 of those thousands of reviews were verified accounts saying that they saw this movie in theaters. So I'm calling BS. It was Snyder fans kind of, going to fight for Snyder to get this score up, and I just hate that shit. Let the movie stand as it is. Actually see the movie before you review it and give it a score, which is exactly what I did last night. I watched this movie as it dropped at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and while it wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen, it certainly wasn't the best movie I've ever seen. But there were some things I liked about it. There were definitely some things I hated about it. I'll start off with the things that I liked about this movie. For starters, some of the visuals were really cool. Like the opening scene of this movie, the main character there, I don't remember the actress's name, Sofia Boutella, I think. But she's like plowing a field or tilling a field or something, and there's this cool sunset in the background. Or not sunset, but it's like almost like a Saturn-type planet setting in the background with this cool orange glow. Looked great. It was really cool. I was like, well, if these are the visuals we're going to get in this movie, then I think we're in for a real treat. The movie opened very strong. I actually really enjoyed everything going on in the village and everything that they'd set up in that first like 30 minutes or so of this movie. Goes downhill pretty quickly after that. But yeah, there were definitely some things I liked about that. One thing that I picked up on that I thought was really funny was there are 2 actors in this movie who both have played Dario Naharis from Game of Thrones, Daenerys Targaryen's like boyfriend when she was in Across the Sea in Bravos or whatever. That was really cool to see both of them like even share a screen together a couple times. I'm like, that's both Dario Naharis, or whatever that character's name is. It's just funny just to see them kind of going off each other there. The alien designs in this movie were pretty good too. I thought a lot of the creature designs were really cool. They reminded me of like something like Guillermo del Toro would have come up with, and I really enjoyed that. I thought there were some freaky ones. The spider lady was wicked freaky. I really enjoyed her design. There's a couple just random aliens. A couple of them look like fucking orcs, like straight up out of Lord of the Rings. And I would have probably tweaked those designs myself had I realized I just basically took an orc and fucking put him in space. But that was just me. There's some action scenes in this movie that are pretty good. Some fight scenes, a couple in the beginning, middle, end. They kind of sprinkle them out, but a lot of Zack Snyder slow-mo, but there's also some sped-up fights that are pretty cool. The Spider Lady fight is really cool, and then I actually did enjoy the final fight at the end of this movie between the main character and the kind of main bad guy. I thought that was pretty brutal and pretty cool to see. The universe that they're attempting to set up in this movie is actually pretty interesting. While I didn't enjoy the movie on its whole, the universe that they're trying to set up, I did find myself thinking, I would like stories in this universe. I think there's enough there to kind of to grab my interest and make me want to see more in this universe, So I think they did a good job building out that sort of thing. But where they kind of stumbled is the storytelling for this movie isn't very good. So had somebody else stepped in and done this movie, or somebody else had wrote this movie based on what Zack Snyder had cooked up with in his original outline, I think you could have maybe engaged people a little more. But that's just one thought I have on there. This is a random thing. This really does not do anything with Rebel Moon, but Ray Fisher's in this movie, who played Cyborg in Justice League, and they give him these like long dreads, and he's got this big ass gun. And the whole time that I saw him, I was like, he looks like fucking Bishop from X-Men. And now I got my gears turned. I'm like, well, they're redoing X-Men over the MCU. I'd reach out to Ray Fisher because he looked fucking awesome as Bishop, and he's not a terrible actor. So getting him on board to play a character like Bishop would be pretty cool. But again, that's just a side tangent there. Charlie Hunnam's character in this movie, out of all the characters in this movie, I'd say his character is my favorite in this movie. I think from the beginning to the end, he doesn't have a lot of dialogue in the first like hour and a half, which is kind of weird. But the little bit that they sprinkle in like the midway point and towards the end make his character the most interesting. And I would have liked to have seen a little more of that. So the big issue with this movie is that Zack Snyder had filmed, I want to say like a 3.5 hour, 4 hour version of this movie that was like super R-rated, and they cut it down to a 2 hour PG-13 version. And I really think this movie needed those extra scenes. It needed to flush these stories out better without just doing exposition dumps to explain what's going on. The number one rule with movies is show me, don't tell me, right? You can't do montage sequences and then tell me via exposition what it all means. Just fucking play those scenes. Have us get there. But in a 2 hour movie, you basically cut all the ability to do that coherently, so you're left with these exposition dumps, which is pretty fucking rotten. But anyways, I'm going to start really rifling into the bad stuff here. So if any of the good stuff speaks to you, all the power to you. It wasn't enough for me, I could tell you that much. But the bad. Flip side on that very first comment I made about this movie, the visuals. While the visuals in certain parts of this movie were great, some of them were atrocious. Like the worst CGI you've ever seen. For example, there's a scene in the middle of this movie where they're meeting up with some other resistance fighters, like a band of resistance fighters, and they're trying to get them onto their side. And I just gotta tell you, they come like hovering in over this like cityscape where these like floating buildings or like monoliths or something. I don't know if they're actual buildings, but there are just this skyline of buildings, and it looks so fucking bad. I swear, it looked like if you've ever listened to like an 80s synth pop, like royalty free on YouTube, and it's just one of those like 80s visuals that you could see like in the background. It's that bad. That bad. It's quite terrible. The plot of this movie it's like a bad video game. This movie literally is a bad video game, or it feels like, if you guys know the group Coheed and Cambria, they have a lot of like space opera shit written into their music, and they have a lot of videos that kind of tie to that. This feels like a Coheed and Cambria song flushed out into a 2 hour movie, but like done so much worse than Coheed and Cambria would have done it themselves. So that's my 2 cents on that. But it definitely feels like a video game. The story, like I said, that first 30 minutes was great. I was like, I'm kind of invested in this movie. I wonder why it's getting bashed by critics. And then that story picks up where they literally go like port to port, adding members to their fucking team. It literally feels like a video game plot. You're like, we need this laser sword samurai. Let's go get her. Okay, laser sword samurai is here. Her backstory, she's got to do a quick mission. Let's see her do her shit and her skills. Oh, that was badass. We're all going to stand around and watch her do her thing. And then after it's over, she comes over and she's like, laser samurai chick is going to join your party. Like that's literally it. And they do that for every fucking character. I mean, Jaimon Hansu's in this movie. I think he has 3 lines of dialogue the whole movie. And I don't understand. They're making a big point to go and get him. And even at the end of the movie, they call back to his character specifically. And they're like, this girl, the main character here, has brought him on board. And you want me to be happy that we located her, or whatever the line of dialogue is? And I was like, who cares about that fucking guy? He said 3 lines the whole movie, didn't do shit. So, I don't know. Again, I'm pretty sure all of these complaints suffer from the fact that this movie was supposed to be like 3.5, 4 hours long, and they just cut it. But I don't know. Those really drove me crazy. Adding people to the party, the acting. Oh my god, the acting is abysmal. The line delivery is so wooden. When there is line delivery, that is, because so often these characters are coming together when they're because most of this movie is bringing these people onto their team. And when they get brought onto the team, there's just people standing in the background watching it like, we're going to get them. They're coming on board. Oh, yeah. That's all they do. Like, why are you in this movie? It's pretty goddamn terrible. And the bad guys in this movie, They're space Nazis. That's what they are. That's not uncommon. That's kind of what the Empire is in a way in Star Wars, but that all they are is just space Nazis. I don't even really know what their goal is in the movie. It's not like they have a MacGuffin they're trying to get. They're just kind of like, oh, we're just out doing our shitty thing to these people. Like that's all we're doing. It's crazy, and they're basically out there just snubbing out the resistance. And I've seen too many space, battle movies where all it is about is snubbing out the resistance. I need a little more from a plot than that. So I don't know. That's just me. But the bad guy leader, like the ultimate, like the Emperor Palpatine character in this movie, you see him in a couple scenes in the middle, like in a flashback, and then you see him at the end. So unthreatening. He is just, I would be more afraid of a fart than this guy. And he's supposed to be your like big bad guy. And I don't know. It's a real disappointment that that's who the dude is. Like this fucking guy. This is the guy that's coming that we have to be afraid of. The guy that the rebels need to band up to go up against. He looks like a bitch. So I'm just gonna say that he looks like a bitch. So ultimately, I think this movie is just I don't want to say it's a money grab because it's a Netflix movie, but this version of this movie, this 2-hour version, is clearly just them trying to double down to get people to get more views up, and it's bullshit. It's a fucking streaming service, dude. You got all the time in the world to put a movie out there, and people can invest in watching it and get the views out of it. Why not give the version of the movie that clearly is the better version of this movie to everybody? If it is better, maybe it sucks. Maybe that's why they didn't do it, but this movie just misses its mark so much, and I can only think that in the hands of a better director. I said Guillermo del Toro in the beginning for the creature designs. If Guillermo del Toro did this movie, these characters would have been more interesting, and they definitely would have been fleshed out more. I can't believe that this is the movie that all these people were willing to go to those message boards and defend before they saw. This is the movie that they were willing to just dive into those reviews and lie about seeing. This movie? This is the movie you want to die on? Zack Snyder's last movie, Army of the Dead, was way better than this movie. Way better. Guys, I'm sorry. This movie just stinks. It does. It's really not good. Ultimately, I'm going to give this movie a grade of a D+. I was going to go C-, but now as I'm talking about it, I'm going to give it a D+. I think that this movie has this universe has a lot of potential. But in the hands of Zack Snyder, who is notorious for doing style over substance, it just falls fucking flat, dude. It's not good. It's not good. And I can't believe anyone out there actually thinks it's good. Like I said, it's a bad video game plot. I feel like for most of this movie, it was like I was watching video game cutscenes of a game that I had no interest in playing, Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe that extended cut will be better, I'm hoping. But I don't even know if there's enough out there for me to want to watch that extended cut when it comes out, I'll probably watch the part 2 when it drops, because I'm interested enough to see where the story is going to wrap up. But yeah, this part 1 was a real fucking dud. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for my review of Rebel Moon Part 1. What did you guys think about it? Whatever you thought, let me know in the comments. If you love this movie, let me know. If you hated this movie, let me know. I really, really am interested to know what general audiences are thinking about this movie right now, or general at-home movie viewers are thinking about this movie right now. Do me a favor, click the like button and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to hear more of my thoughts on this, next Thursday, we're going to be doing another live stream like we do every Thursday. And we're definitely going to dive into this movie with, the guys that are always on my channel with me. So we'll hop on there, view it live when we go live at 8:30 next Thursday. You guys can hit us up in the comments. We will communicate right back with you. We always answer the comments when they come in live. So really interested in that. So yeah, guys, that's my review of Rebel Moon Part 1 of The Child of Fire. We'll see you later.